Welcome to Grow Fast, Grow Smart, the PI Playbook by Xcelerator, the podcast exclusively designed to help personal injury law firms reach their full potential and serve their clients better. Let's jump in.
Hello, and welcome to the PI Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Koehler from Xcelerator Law Firm Consultants. If you're still thinking about TV the way you did 5 years ago, you're missing out on some major opportunities. Today, we're talking with Laura Hudson, VP of Media Services at CJ Advertising, about what's really changed in the TV advertising landscape for personal injury firms. We're going to bust some myths about daytime TV, talk about what Laura calls the biggest screen in the house, and why smaller firms shouldn't automatically assume TV advertising is out of their reach. Plus, we'll dive into why specializing your TV ads for cases like motorcycle accidents could be a game changer for your practice. Laura's going to share what she wishes every PI attorney understood about TV advertising today. And trust me, it's not what you might expect. Let's jump in. Hello, Laura. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you? No pressure here. That's a lot. You just talked me right up. Here we go.
Don't worry. I'll guide you every step of the way. So let's start with some questions. So let's talk about TV advertising today and how it is different from 5 years ago. When PI attorneys hear TV advertising, many still picture the classic late night commercials we've all seen over the years. What's fundamentally different about TV advertising for personal injury firms today compared to even just 5 years ago?
Well, if you remember, just 5 years ago, we were in the time of COVID still. So that was when it really hit. And that really is what pushed television completely forward. So we've been talking about streaming and thinking about it probably since 2016. So it's been a long time coming. We've been studying up on it. But really, when COVID hit, I think that pushed the entire industry forward by probably a few years. So we kind of got shoved into this great time of disruption. So television and the way people receive their television now and how they are using television now is wildly different than what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, and that leans into my next question, which is I've heard you talk about this idea of the biggest screen in the house. Help our listeners understand, what does that mean and how those changes in TV habits kind of play into this idea of biggest screen in the house?
Yeah, for sure. So the biggest screen in the house is the TV screen. We want to be on the biggest screen in the house, not your cell phone, not your computer. We're really looking to hit the biggest. We want you to be the biggest thing, what everybody is paying attention to in the living room, the largest screen that's available to them. And that's what we really focus on with linear and with streaming. We really try to hit the big screen so that people are really, you're paying attention to it. You're there for a reason. You want to be watching it.
Absolutely. So it sounds like you know where people's attention is. And so as a media buying strategy, it's all about getting personal injury firms, their advertising on that big screen. So how has that changed the way that you approach media buying for your clients?
Well, right now, still, surprisingly, I've just talked about streaming and that's all I've said. Haven't really mentioned linear, but the majority of dollars and the majority of the way that we still reach our clients is through linear television, which is broadcast, cable, satellite, the regular old TV. Turn the TV on. If you have an antenna, you get television signal, and that's what we're looking for. Streaming is important and it is growing. And just recently, the New York Times put out an extremely hyperbolic article that claimed that streaming is the king of television now. And I don't know if I would say that specifically. It's about, split 50-50 between linear and streaming, but it is growing and it's something we definitely need to be paying attention to. But over the last 5 years, as it has grown, we've paid more attention to it, but still the bread and butter for us and for our industry remains linear television for a lot of reasons, really, which we can get into, like fragmentation being the main one. And that means that when you are looking at streaming, you've got so many options. You have so many platforms the number of platforms that you have rivals the number of cable networks that you have. And then within each platform, you've got so many options. How many times do you sit in front of whatever platform you're working on or trying to watch TV on and trying to decide? You spend an hour deciding what to watch, and then you're like, oh, God, never mind. I'm just going to go to bed. Just forget it, So fragmentation is it's an industry-wide struggle, and it's a struggle specifically for direct response. We're not reaching enough people to really push them to do what we want them to do. So linear television remains the way right now. We know that's going to change. So we're still waiting for the flywheel to turn over for it to become streaming. It's just not there yet.
It's interesting you mentioned direct response. As we think about television, its role in people's lives, whether that's linear streaming or however they access that televised content on the big screen content. How has direct response changed for television? Sort of see spot, make the phone ring. Is that still the way that we kind of measure success when it comes to linear TV and other types of TV, or are things kind of changing up?
It's wildly changing. It did used to be exactly what you said. See spot run, hear phone ring, or see spot run and then go to the yellow pages, look up the phone number, and then see that phone ring. And that's just not the way that it is necessarily anymore. So daytime television, I know may be a dirty word in many a law firm that don't like to hear that daytime television is still the way that it happens, but it truly is. But that is what prompts people to actually take an action many times. It's not the only way though. So as things have changed, and we've just talked about streaming and how its growth and fragmentation being an issue, what TV is becoming is a higher funnel tactic. So when you're talking about a marketing funnel, the top of the funnel is filled by your broad reach media. So that's outdoor, and it's television, and it's radio. These are not clickable things. They're not things that immediately you see response from. Daytime TV would be the exception to that. But even that now at this point has moved itself further up the funnel. So as it has shifted, broad reach media becomes the top of the funnel, and you're looking for other opportunities to incite people to action, primarily web, because it is clickable. It does push you to take an action and click the link or call button or whatever the case may be.
You mentioned daytime TV. So let's talk about that misconception. What's the biggest mistake you see attorneys making when they think daytime TV doesn't work?
They avoid it. They avoid it because they don't see it. They don't watch it. Their friends don't watch it. But what you watch and your consumption habits are going to be different from the household next door, and particularly the household that's across town that would be more likely to call you as a PI attorney. And you're at work. You're not sitting at home. You haven't been injured in an auto accident or a work accident or had a medical malpractice happen. You're not at home watching TV. So while, yes, daytime television does have lower ratings or impressions as things have shifted than primetime or live sports, that's where the people are that need you. So it does still work in the moment.
Right. It's like that you're more likely to get a high intent viewer. So someone who is watching when that spot comes on, they're more likely to be somebody who sees that spot as a solution to a problem that they're having at that moment. And I think that's such a great point.
Yep, that's exactly right. That's a perfect phrasing for it.
I love it. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about how firms think about TV advertising. A lot of our listeners to this podcast are smaller firms, and some may think that TV advertising is only for the biggest players. What's your take on that?
It's not only for the big guys. The big guys weren't always big guys. They started somewhere too. And right now, I truly believe that it is daytime television where it is pretty inexpensive to reach a lot of people. And that's really what you need to do in order to start building your brand. And that is where you're building your brand and filling the top of the funnel so that your other web tactics and even daytime television can pull something out of the bottom of the funnel. There's a threshold for it, but I don't think you should automatically discount television as something that's definitely not going to work, because we do see and have seen that TV supports web. They really work hand in hand. And when TV is removed, then your web may suffer as well. So it's a broad approach. Don't discount any media. All media is good media. It just depends on when the time is right to add that media to your mix.
Yeah. So let's say you're a firm that has really been investing on the digital side. So they have a digital partner that they're working with. They're kitted out with SEO. They're, doing LSAs, PPC, social ads, all that good stuff. And you changed their mind today. They're thinking about television. What would be like your approach to advising them? And what would be some of the strategies around wrapping television around an existing digital strategy?
Yeah, I love that client A, has a fantastic digital strategy already in place, because that does make it a lot easier for TV to work. Because people, when they see you on television, they're going to go to the internet and they're going to look you up. They're going to want to know about you, and your SEO better be good enough to make you show up when they come and search for you. And your PPC and your LSAs and all of it should be clean and branded in the same way that your TV is. So just for a moment to take a step in creative direction, it all should be branded appropriately and the same, so that red and yellow makes you think McDonald's for a reason. And it's this that they've branded themselves so well. So we want the same thing to happen for our clients as well. And I would say that daytime television, start there. And if you can't start there, probably I would send you to AM News next, because there's just not as much of it to cover. So you could probably get in there a little less overall spend, and that will fill the top of the funnel, like we talked about earlier, so that your web, if you have a fantastic web presence already and your PPC is doing what you want it to do, then filling the top of the funnel even more, because PPC is a very down funnel tactic. You need something to fill the top. Otherwise, your PPC is going to run out at some point.
I love the idea of them working together, and this idea of funnel, which is to say that, finding traffic online, it's so competitive, right? We've got SEO, we've got AI agents. There's so much happening competitively being discovered online for firms. And there's lots of great solutions. And I know our teams work on that in the digital side, day in and day out. But there is one thing we know from digital is that branded traffic makes it to your website, right? If you're investing on your branded search, or you've got that SEO for your own brand. And when television or these other kind of mass market advertising comes in, it's driving that branded search, which is like the most delicious of the searches. And so those little investments can make a big difference. So that's really, really cool.
And it really does. We've seen for clients that when we add, for example, if we're just starting with daytime television, which is pretty standard, because it is still a direct response. So that's my goal always, is to increase leads, no matter what. So we'll always have a daytime component. But then beyond that, we have seen that branded search, which we track for our clients, when AM News is added, our data chief will come and ask, what did this client do here? I see the spike. What is going on? And often it's AM News.
I'm glad we're kind of getting into some of these other things, because I have to admit, I don't think very much about AM News. And that kind of plays back into that misconception, right, of daytime television, and what people do when they consume media during the day and they're not working. So it's all making sense to me, Laura. Thank you. So here's another one. So we have firms who are coming in, they're investing in TV. Maybe they're entering a new market. Maybe they're ramping stuff up. Maybe they're entering TV for the first time. What does it really take for a firm to succeed with TV advertising? Like, what kind of mindset do they need?
That's a good question. The mindset for television, you have to have the stomach for it. And I mean that to say consistency is always going to win the day. So don't give up after, a month if you haven't seen something. You got to give it time to really get its claws into the market and work. And you also have to have the stomach for it. If you're going to be the face of the firm on TV, people are going to start talking to you about it. So you want to have the stomach to be okay with that too. So there's two pieces. I think we do a really good job of branding people and making them their truest selves on TV. So you want that to shine through too. And then it really is, when it comes to media placement, consistency. You've got to give it enough time to really start to work.
When we say enough time, how much time is it?
The longer the better. It always, over time, is always the longer the better. But I understand that, that takes an iron gut for real. But I would say at least 3 to 6 months, you want to be able to fund for at least that long to start seeing something, because 3 months, it might get to feel a little uncomfortable. But then if you pull back too soon, if you start to see small gains and you pull back too soon, then you lose all those and you just have to make it up. Be as efficient as we possibly can for as long as, and it takes a minute to get there.
Yeah, so that's really commitment and patience, which is to say that investing in building an audience in this space, it takes more time. And, this is connecting for me too. It's like, it's not you just see an ad when you're scrolling on Facebook and you sort of react to it. It is sort of that repetition, the sort of psychological seeding of a brand over time. And that of course takes entry into the market with great creative, but also that commitment. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
One last thing on that. It takes time to build trust with the market. So, and not only that, not everybody has been injured in an accident in that moment or in those 3 months. So you have to build your brand over time so that people know who you are and will come looking for you.
100%. There's so much. Truly that's what the awareness part of the funnel is all about. And then sort of the beauty of TV having does have that direct response component. So it's really serving both of those things. It's really cool. I want to talk a little bit about specialized case types. So a lot of advertising on TV is about auto accidents for many, many firms. But what happens when firms decide to choose more specialized case types? So big truck or motorcycle. And why is it so important for firms to invest in this type of advertising? And how does it work differently than car accident advertising?
Yeah, it is important to invest in it because even though you say you're a car accident attorney, the general market may not associate that with a motorcycle or with a truck, or if you're doing workers' comp, if they may not know that you do that at all. So if you don't ask for it, people aren't going to know that you do it or that you want it. If you don't ask, then the answer is always no, but it could be yes if you ask the question. So ask for it so that you receive it. And then on our side, for as far as television and placement and how we handle those buys, depending on where you are in your marketing journey, I guess, or your maturity, that may look like a completely different schedule or campaign type that might be placed in similar areas as we're working for auto, but depending on what case type it is, if you're looking for comp or med mal, those are going to be two different buying strategies. We would buy differently depending on what you're looking for, what you're asking for.
And thinking about kind of different schedules and stuff, how has that evolution within TV advertising changed your ability to be more strategic about when ads run and what kind of audiences see them?
So what makes a med mal a higher end placement? Well, when you're looking for a med mal case, people are going to be in a different headspace than they are when they're injured in an auto accident or injured on the job. They need to do something right now. But for a medical malpractice, you're going to be making decisions. So we want to find them watching. We want to reach as many people as we can and find them watching programming, even in daytime, that is a higher rated opportunity, like The View or Kelly and Mark or live news, noon news, afternoon news, AM news. So in those cases, we would want to reach them as they are higher in their decision funnel rather than with auto. They're further down the funnel and we try to hit them all over the place. We buy those same programs for auto, but we also buy a lot of the less expensive programming because we want to hit those people more and more and more with a higher frequency.
You've mentioned lots of different placement types in our conversation today. For the layperson or the person who's learning about media buying and TV advertising, what are some of the slots that are available and how do you talk about them?
Yeah. First, I've said daytime a lot. So what does daytime mean, really? And it's 9A to 3 or 4P. We kind of call daytime 9A to 5P, though technically 4, 3, and 4 to 6 is called early fringe, but we don't call it that. And then I've said AM a lot, and AM news is your early morning news. So that's your local news on TV. It starts at 5. Some places it starts at 4:30. Local news from 4:30 or 5 to 9 when your Good Morning Americas take over. So we count that first hour of Good Morning America before people actually leave the house as local too, because people are still at home. So we want to include that in our AM count, our AM news types. And then prime time, everybody knows what that is. It's when you're sitting down on the couch after dinner and watching TV. Early news You would think that would be early morning, but it's not. That's the one that's in the afternoon. And then late news after prime time, that's your 10p news.
Yeah, awesome. Are there similar kind of schedules when you buy for streaming? I mean, are there other kind of patterns like that?
Yes, but not really. Depends on, so it's a completely different way of looking at buying. When we're talking about linear, I'm looking for the program to find the person. So I want to target a specific person, and I'm going to look for the programming that will hit that person. But when I'm talking about streaming, I'm just looking for the person, and I don't care what they're watching. So I don't care what program it is, unless there's something specific like a live sports. That's something you would try to buy that specifically. But otherwise, in streaming, we have the capability to target a household, a zip code, down to people that are actively looking to buy a car. You can target so many ways because you're using internet targeting capabilities for television targeting to target programs. So I don't need to target a program to find the person. I found the person. I don't care what they're watching. I want to be in front of them.
Absolutely. That's so cool. And I love kind of both of those together for that broad reach. And it's also that, I mean, we just talked about how daytime TV can have high intent because of sort of the situation in which that person is watching TV. As well, people who have, who are in an intended audience, you can find them and track them across programming. So it's really kind of best of everything, which is so helpful. So we kind of talked a little bit about digital, and I have a question, which is, when a PI firm invests in TV advertising, how should they think about connecting that to their digital presence? So how does web and TV all work together? And is there anything to keep in mind when they're doing TV that it makes it a good partner to digital?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say always with your creative, no matter what it is, have similar themes, similar brand. If you are the face of the firm, be the face of the firm everywhere. If you are not, then whether that's your spokesperson, your phone number, whatever your branding elements are, make sure they're consistent across all media, so that with your tagline, so that even if it's not a visual, even, what you're saying, if you happen to be on radio, no matter what media you're using, you should have consistent themes across all of them so that they all complement each other. So that if you only hear the phone number, then you still know who that is or what they're looking for, if that is your element that you're pushing. Consistency, really across all media, whether that's your budget, your time on air, your creatives, consistency is always going to be the key to push you forward.
Okay, last question. Are you ready?
Here we go.
What is one thing that you wish every PI attorney understood about TV advertising today?
One? I only get one?
Just one. Yeah. No, okay, look, you twisted my arm. You can do a couple.
Okay. First and foremost, linear is still specifically broadcast. Is still the best way to get your name out there. Everybody talks about streaming. Streaming is great. I love streaming. I love radio. I love outdoor. I love all media. But linear television, broadcast TV is still the best way to get your name out there. Today. If we talk about this 6 months from now, that answer may be different. All right. Things are changing at a rapid pace. And the next thing about TV to know is it's not dying. Everybody, people kind of want to have a hyperbolic headline to say, this is king and that's dead and this works and that doesn't. And everything in time, everything gets its place. So it really is it takes a moderate approach, no matter what. Hyperbole is fun and it definitely will get you clicks and draw interest. But what actually works, and when I say works, I mean, to be very clear, increases leads, is consistency over time. TV does that.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of for the digital side of it, people, if you're buying meta ads, you're not choosing between Instagram or Facebook. You're buying on both platforms. If you're adding in a TikTok strategy, or you're not just doing LSAs, you're also doing PPC. So firms with comfort in digital should also have that comfort with a marketing mix for television. And I think some of that narrative sort of perception could change for firms that says TV is a marketing mix too. There's lots of tools here and they all work together. Linear is a huge part of it. And I know that New York Times article you mentioned, and it's like, for the first time, it was more than half for streaming. Well, 49.9% of the population is still a very rich field to be gathering. And especially because that 49.9, and I apologize, I don't remember the exact stat, is that's a consolidated audience that can be targeted in a very particular way, reusing the program to get to the people the way that you mentioned. And then that other piece, even if it might be a majority, is that highly fragmented audience. So it's not like if you go to streaming, you've got suddenly 51% of your audience. You just don't. You have that pie sliced 1,000 ways.
That is exactly the point. That is why linear and broadcast still bring the noise, if you will. While it's a very loud megaphone, whereas over here in streaming, you're whispering to a bunch of different people and a lot of different ways. While you can target, depending on what you're looking for, you get so targeted that you're not hitting enough people to build the brand, and then it all kind of crumbles. Again, if you don't fill the top of the funnel, then nothing's going to come out the bottom.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how audience segmentation and intent play into streaming over time as those audiences get bigger. In particular, not that more people are streaming, but that there's more consolidation within the streaming market and sort of the ad buys themselves get bigger. That's what's kind of hearing you say. Then it's like, you can think about intent, finding the person, and that kind of stuff in some ways that are similar, but also just very evolved from where TV is today. So nothing but opportunities is what I'm hearing you say.
You're exactly right. That is exactly what I said.
Oh my gosh, it has been so much fun to just hear, and I just love watching your mind work on this topic. You know so much about the world of TV advertising, and just such a pleasure. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Stephanie. This was fun.
That's a wrap on another eye-opening look into the personal injury world. Thanks for listening to Grow Fast, Grow Smart, the PI Playbook by Xcelerator.